Raise your fist together. I am somebody. I may be poor, but I am somebody.
Red and yellow, brown, black, and white. We're all precious in God's sight. Everybody is somebody. Stop the violence. Save the children. Stop bullying. Save the children.
Hold your head high. Stick your chest out. You can make it. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sonia Whitaker, National Education Policy Director for Push for Excellence. And on behalf of the Rainbow Push Coalition, we'd like to thank you so much for joining us here on our Saturday morning forum. We also want to thank Word Network for bringing you to us and us to you. And at the same time, we recognize that many of you are also watching us on Facebook Live. If you're doing so, we want you to be sure to like our page. And for the many of you who are watching us on YouTube, we'd like to ask that you subscribe to our page so that you can gain immediate access to all of the content we have to share with you. And speaking of content, we can't do this without you. We need your financial support, and we have made it very easy for you to give. In fact, we're giving you 3 different options. You can simply pick up that cell phone of yours and hold it to the QR code on the screen and give right on the spot. And if you elect to do so, you can also take that same cell phone and text the word push to 41444. Text push to 41444. You may also consider simply going to our website at rainbowpush.org and pressing the donate button. We have a lot in store for you today. Whatever you do, don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. The push is on.
Hi, I'm Tim Lee, and today we're going to continue our Did You Know series on the Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson. Last time we got together, we talked about how Reverend Jackson, as a part of the Greenville 8, fought for freedom, justice, and equality in his early years. Today we're going to dig a little deeper into his story and learn about how he became a protege of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and how he led Operation Breadbasket in the late 1960s. Let's get started. Reverend Jackson began his college career in Illinois, but because of racism at his college, he transferred to North Carolina Agricultural and Technological University in Greensboro, North Carolina. There he became involved in the Civil Rights Movement, was elected as a Student Government Association president, and graduated with a degree in sociology in 1964. After graduation, he enrolled in Chicago Theological Seminary. But in 1965, observing all that was going on in the world, the young Reverend Jackson couldn't sit behind the desk in a classroom as his people suffered in the streets. On March 7, 1965, Reverend Jackson watched with the world as marchers in Selma, Alabama were treated inhumanely on what has now been named Bloody Sunday. The next day, he went down to Alabama to join Dr. King and his fight for voting rights. From 1965 to 1968, Reverend Jackson worked alongside Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to fight for civil rights in America. In fact, in 1966, Dr. King appointed Reverend Jackson to lead the Operation Breadbasket movement in Chicago, which expanded the civil rights movement from the South to the North. Operation Breadbasket originally started in Atlanta, Georgia, and was the economic development branch of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, or the SCLC, the organization that Dr. King was the head of. Operation Breadbasket was an economic empowerment program that aimed to keep a slice of bread in the Black community. It focused on jobs, services, and getting products from Black businesses on the shelves. Operation Breadbasket implemented selective buying campaigns, or boycotts, where the community would withdraw their financial support from companies and businesses that refused to employ Black people or put Black products on shelves. And with Reverend Jackson at the helm, the Chicago branch of Operation Breadbasket saw many victories. Operation Breadbasket empowered the Black community in Chicago. Operation Breadbasket provided jobs and opportunities to many Black families in Chicago. Operation Breadbasket built the middle class in Chicago.
Immediately closed down 7 stores and stopped a $35 million operation in one Saturday's picket. So there is a kind of instant power. However, the economic power is not the only leverage. And I think that the Black community is driving for economic independence, for political independence, for military independence, for social, for religious and psychological independence, which means that we will control our community as do other ethnic groups.
Friends, that's all the time we have for today. I really hope you enjoyed learning more about Reverend Jackson, a man you ought to know. Please tune in next time when we cover how Reverend Jackson started Operation Push and continued with all the lessons he learned from Operation Breadbasket. As always, permit me to end with my favorite quote of Reverend Jackson, and that is, if your mind can conceive it and your heart can believe it, you can achieve it. Until next time, I'm Tim Lee.
We're celebrating the legend himself, that prophetic icon, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, the game-changing gospel giant and prophetic witness. Happy birthday. How can we celebrate this in a way that truly reflects appreciation for the man, the mission, the message, Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr.? I want to invite you to help us bring to pass a vision that was given to him by the late Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King had a dream of 1,000 churches connected. We got, 50 major markets. If we have 20 churches in those 50 major markets, that would basically say, I'm going to connect with Rainbow Push. And in connecting with Rainbow Push, we'll do it on several levels. We'll do it by way of offering our financial support to Rainbow Push. I've already sent a check both to Reverend Jackson and to Rainbow Push because it's definitely necessary at this time that we understand the need to utilize our prophetic witness in an empowered fashion. I often say that while the Republicans are playing a game of power chess, the Democrats are trying to learn how to play checkers. Listen, we preach about power. We talk about power. The question is, are we going to wield power? Reverend Jackson says we can wield power with 1,000 churches around this country connected in investing in Rainbow Push, but also not only must we invest in Rainbow Push, I hope you join me and will contribute at least $1,000. I've done more than that, but you can do what God has blessed you to do. And then not only that, I want to encourage you, as Reverend Jackson is talking about, we need, just as we have Sunday school classes, we've got to have social justice classes and teach what it means to unite or reunite in holy wedlock what never should have been divorced, Jesus and justice. That's what 1,000 churches connected can do. Imagine 1,000 churches throughout this country connected, wielding power. Watch this, as one, but at the same time doing all we can to make a difference in our respective areas, being fed, watch this, information as well as inspiration from Rainbow Push as a family and Reverend Jesse Jackson as our fearless leader. So I hope that you'll join me. Join 1,000 Churches Connected. That's a real good way to say happy birthday, Reverend Jackson. God bless you. Keep hope alive.
Push Excel's goal is to inspire students to strive for excellence in education in spite of personal, family, and community challenges that they might experience. How do we do this? By advocating for educational policies that guarantee equal funding for all students without regard to race or economic standing. By engaging parents, students, and teachers in pursuing high-quality education and striving for educational excellence at every level. And by forging partnerships with community-based and public sector stakeholders in education. Now, Push Excel is a national model program with the purpose of connecting principals, parents, popular personalities, and students in a bond and to support students at every level on the educational ladder. Now, we want you to become a member of the Rainbow Push Coalition and Push Excel. Your annual membership can help us to change policies that impact students, colleges, and universities all around the country. So step up and sign up today. Membership is only $35, and if you're a student or a senior, $15. Just go to our website, rainbowpush.org, and push join to become a member or push donate to support the Push Excel program. You can also text the word Push Excel, that's PUSHEXCEL, to 41444 on your cell phone, and you can give us any amount that you feel comfortable giving or call us at 773-256-2775. Wherever you are, you can support us as we keep pushing for you. And remember to keep hope alive.
We have Robel Aye, who is CEO of What You Need, joining us. Robel, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
And thank you so much. We also have Kamari Hill, CEO of GOAT Speaks, GOAT. Kamari, are you there?
Yes, sir, I am here.
Hey, Kamari, how are you doing? And we're working on getting Paris Johnson and Mylan connected, of course. But I want to give each of you the opportunity to introduce yourselves. Tell people who you are, where you're from, what your age is, and then also talk about your company and what it does. And then we're going to dive into some questions after that. So I'll start with you, Robel.
My name is Robel Ayele, and I am 15 years old in the 9th grade. I was born in Ethiopia. And I've been in the United States for 8 years now. And my business is about technology. So it started when I was about 8 years old. I had a friend whose name was Jake. We were like cutting grass so we can get a dirt bike, so we can afford a dirt bike, because I was into dirt bikes that time when I was 8. So we were starting to cut grass around our yard, our neighborhoods too, and we were making pretty good money. Then technology came on, and I was really in love with technology, so I made good money off of that.
All right, and when you say technology came along, can you kind of explain that a little bit?
So I was helping people around my neighborhood like troubleshoot their computer, and people that is from, I live in Clarkson, so there's a lot of refugees that need help with technology, right? So that some refugees don't know about technology like how we United States people know, because refugees come from a whole different country and they can't afford all this stuff that we can afford. So that I'm helping refugees understand about technology and how to be safe on the internet.
Oh, absolutely. One of our really big friends and supporters here at the Rainbow Push Atlanta Peachtree Street Project, the former mayor of Clarkston, Ted Terry. So remind me, and I will make sure to connect him with you, because I think we can take the work that you're doing and expand it out and make sure that you're getting the help and resources you're needed to take it to that next level. Kamari, I'm going to toss it over to you. Can you introduce yourself and talk a little about your company?
My name is Kamari Hill. I am, and pretty much my business, GOAT Speaks, is the acronym for Greatest of All Time, and I am really good at speaking about my diabetes and just life in general. I tell myself I'm one of probably the most woke 16-year-old I've ever. I feel like I'm the most woke because I have a lot of knowledge in my life. At this young, I've experienced a lot, so I feel like I speak about all my traumas and just use my traumas to enlighten the youth, the elderly, about how they can make better life decisions. And specifically about my diabetes, I use that as my speaking platform to just allow people to make better choices and see how they can make better choices at my near death experience at 14 was a way to hopefully to motivate people and do better in life, to make better life choices.
So you started being a motivational speaker at 15, 16 years old?
Correct, sir. Yes.
All right, and tell me about how your platform and how your company works. How do you get your message out there to people?
So mostly it's word of mouth, but I do have certain social medias. I haven't really been on there as of recently because I kind of got, so the way it is, I've gotten diabetes during COVID. So then once the world came to an end, that's when I was like, you know what, I'm gonna use my experiences and I'll create a business with it. And what we do, we just, anyone that reaches out, I go to local churches, and then sometimes, I do typically charge for my services and my speaking, but just to get my name out there in the community, I do just go out to random events and things just to speak about my experiences and my diabetic story. And then once as I did that, and throughout time, people have been reaching out to me. I go to speak at senior citizen homes. I've went to hospitals. I've talked to a few younger diabetic kids. It's one of my closest friends. She's a 6-year-old girl who, when I got diagnosed with diabetes, was in the bed next to me. And I just talk to different people. If you email me we can get on a Zoom call, virtual, in person, wherever you need me at, I'm there for you 100%.
Well, I'm going to be that uncle at the family reunion. Give us a sample. Let people know what they are booking when they're booking you. So I'll give the floor over to you to let us see what happens when someone books you and what the motivation is you're bringing.
Okay, so my story starts in May of 2019. I was eating. My uncle just got back out of town, and I'm really close to my uncle. And we were just outside having a great time. And we were like, oh, let's get some food. And we got some Wingstop. I never had Wingstop at that point in my life. So I got some Wingstop. We got some sodas from the store, and we just ate all the food. We bought 100 wings and we ate. And later that day when my uncle went home, I felt really, really, really sick. My whole body was in the worst pain, still to this day, the worst pain I've ever experienced. And I was on the ground because I didn't want to mess up my bed, and I kept throwing up all on the floor. And my mom, she thought it was just a regular common cold or just a little stomach bug. And I was throwing up all day. I couldn't keep anything down, throwing up, pooping, all that, just everywhere. Not pooping everywhere, but my stomach was everywhere, and it wasn't good. And this went on for about 3 to 4 days. And after the 4th day, around midnight, when my mom came home from work, she was like, all right, let's get to take you to the hospital. I was so weak all those days, each day, even harder to stand, harder to walk. And now it was time for me to get in the shower to get ready to go to the hospital. I almost passed out for how weak I was because I wasn't able to keep food or anything down. We got in the car on the way to the hospital. I went to Egleston Hospital in Georgia. And in the car ride, my head was out the window just throwing up. I couldn't take the motion. And my mom happened to stop by a Quick Trip and got a Sprite for herself. And I'm telling you right now, I was like, I'm thirsty, and I drank that Sprite. And to this day, that had to be the best Sprite I've ever had. Maybe it was because I was just really sick. And I think once I got to the hospital, I was about unconscious. And when I woke, I really wasn't there. I was, like I said, I'm unconscious. So I'm hearing things, hearing ECL ride, rushing into this room, and I'm just having IVs hooked all up in my arms. And I'm just on the bed thinking to myself, wow, is this really it? Is this as a 14-year-old on that bed with a bunch of IVs, being unconscious, seeing my mom in tears, it was really not the best feeling, considering the fact that I never see my mom cry. It made me realize from that day that no day is promised. You have to definitely take advantage of every day to be the best person you can. And when I was in the bed and in the hospital, and the doctor pretty much was telling us, if he didn't make it today, he wouldn't have made it past today. Today would have been his last day. And that was scary to hear as 14. It's a lot of things I haven't done at 14. It's a little bit more stuff I've done now being 16, but still, it's still early. And throughout the days when I was learning about diabetes and seeing all the other kids who were being born into diabetes and having to learn about a whole new way of life, I definitely took it very serious. I really considered. I wanted to do therapy. I just had diabetes is something you have to, until you're cleared from it, you have to take it as if the next meal is, or you never know, because your sugars can drop. Boom, you pass out. Your sugars get too high, you pass out. You can fall out. You can be unconscious. If you're by yourself, that's kind of even scarier. And I just use, I'm just motivational. I feel like that was my purpose. I feel like God kept me here to be able to motivate people through my story. And each day in the hospital, me learning more and more, getting closer to God, asking what was the reason for me staying, and I feel like I got closer, and I found my purpose. And now I'm using my purpose to enlighten the youth and the elderly.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so inspiring, because I think a lot of people don't get that perspective until way later in life when they start because normally when you're young, you think you're invincible. You're skateboarding, you're falling off things, you're eating junk food because you think that you'll be here for the next 1,000 years. But you got that perspective. I think it's important for you to talk about that and to use that voice at the top. I think we have Paris on the line now. Paris Johnson, if you could unmute it, introduce yourself. We want to make sure people know about your business also, Paris.
Hey, my name is Paris. I'm 16 years old. I'm in the 11th grade. I'm a student at Solid Foundation Christian Academy. I also attend Georgia Piedmont Technical College, and I'm working on to get in my associate's degree, 2-year associate's degree. And the name of my business is Paris. I say it's Paris because it stands for me personally. The acronyms for my business are: P is for passionate, A is for aroma, R is for relax, I is for individual, S is for scrubs. And I basically sell scrubs and oils.
Okay, can you talk about what those are for old people like me? Talk a little bit about the business.
The scrubs are they're all organic. Like my main ingredient is coconut oil. I say my main ingredient for coconut oil is because it's very healthy. Like it hydrates and it provides. Okay.
You're doing great. You're doing great. Relax. You're doing great.
Okay, thank you. It provides oxycodone. I think that's how you say it. It also absorbs very easily, and that's basically it. That's why I feel like my business is a great idea.
I agree with you. We asked this of Kamari and also of Robel. Talk a little bit about what inspired you to start this business.
I got this opportunity with Mason Superdogs. I think that's the name of his business. Mm-hmm. And the opportunity we had was to create a business that we've always wanted to do. And I chose scrubs because why not? I mean, most people have a lot of acne, and lots of people like to have clear skin, which some people can't control. So I decided to come up with the idea of scrubs and oils, all organic, like products out of your kitchen. And that's basically it. And also Mason introduced us to a lot of people, to where we got to introduce our business to like a lot of people that was into helping young Black entrepreneurs ready to start their business.
In the midst of all this going on, and not just the country, but the world, it is so encouraging and empowering to see youth, Black youth, really doing the thing, continuing to learn, grow, evolve as entrepreneurs. We know the community is going to support and root for you and be in your corner. And we really do appreciate the leadership that y'all provide, providing your time to appear on this panel and help us learn about entrepreneurial leadership. So thank you for your time.
And I want to thank you so much also, Mylan. During the break, I was on a call with some of the people who are attending the conference virtually, and they were saying, well, Patillo, you're the youth. I'm like, no, I'm not the youth. Mylan's the youth. And then Mylan is talking to people who are younger than him because they're the youth. So this is why it's important that we have these intergenerational discussions so that the 70-year-olds can talk to the 50-year-olds, who can talk to the 30-something-year-olds, who can talk to the 20-something-year-olds, who can talk to the teens, because that's how we keep this movement going. Absolutely outstanding panel. We want to help promote and support all the businesses that all of you are in, and we're going to make sure we get your information posted on our social media and provide any assistance that you need. So any mentorship, if you want us to connect you with people who are in your field, if you want us to connect you with corporations that you might want to work with in the future, if there's any professional speakers you want us to connect you with, let us know. If there's any tech companies you want us to connect you with, let us know. If there are any scrub companies and beauty care companies you want us to connect you with, let us know. We will do everything that we can to make that possible.
Hi, I'm Tim Lee, and this message is for all teachers. Push Excel wants to say thank you. And on Saturday, November 19th at 11 a.m., we're going to be having a special teacher appreciation brunch. So if you know a teacher, or if you are a teacher, share our link with teachers so they can register and reserve their spot today. Explore the benefits of a Push Excel partnership. Learn more about the Push Excel national programs. Network with teachers in the Midwest region. Discover how Push Excel can provide professional development for you and your colleagues. Listen, it's no secret. Teachers are overworked, underpaid, and worst of all, underappreciated. But we at Push Excel are clear. Teachers have one of the most important jobs in our world today. And we want to say thank you. Scan the QR code on your screen now and register for our brunch today. Again, the brunch is Saturday, November 19th, 2022, 11 a.m. at the national headquarters of the Rainbow Push Coalition. I look forward to seeing all of you there.
This is Bishop Tavis Grant, the Acting National Executive Director of the Rainbow Push Coalition, and this is State of the Movement. You know, I want to thank our Atlanta team. Wow, what a phenomenal conference. The Creating Opportunities Conference, Attorney Robert Patillo and your team, you did a fantastic job. And now we're on our way to the Motor City, Detroit, Michigan, for our Rainbow Push CEF Automotive Summit. I want you to go to the bottom of the screen. You can get all the information and register. It is in person and virtual as we are getting engaged in the automotive industry in ways you have not seen, from innovation, electric cars, fuel, fossil fuel, new designs, and new distribution. You don't want to miss that conference. Go to the bottom of the screen, www.rainbowpush.org. We are just days away from the midterms. In the last election, over 120 million people voted, 54% increase. And we look at early voting and mail-in voting, we've got a shot to take America to the next level, whether it is from the United States Senate or the Congress or statewide races or races locally where you live. You can make a difference because your voice and your vote must count in this election. And so whether it is labor or healthcare or education, or whether it is gun violence or affordable housing, whether it is criminal justice reform or fighting for a national $15 livable wage, Rainbow Push Coalition is on the front line. And we're watching several states during the election. If you're in Arizona, if you're in Georgia, if you're in Florida, if you're in Maryland, if you're in Michigan, if you're in North Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Texas, as well as Wisconsin, we've organized poll watchers and poll observers to fight against voter suppression, fight against bullying and intimidation at the poll, because we want free and fair elections. And so this has to be the moment that we flex our power, raise our voice, and use our vote. You're joining the fastest growing civil rights army on the planet, and our leader is Jesse Lewis Jackson, and we're keeping hope alive. This is State of the Movement.
In the stormy season of violent campaign rhetoric, we're called to be steady in the face of the whirlwind. There's a tug of war for America's soul. We have a clear choice: take down walls of separation, build bridges of hope and unity. Love must trump ignorance and fear and hatred and violence.
Our vote is our voice. Let's march the polls together, keep them alive. Let nothing break your spirit, never surrender. Vote, 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 and keep hope alive.
I'm here with Attorney Robert Patillo, our Southeast Regional Director. He's based in Atlanta, Georgia. And we want to talk about the recent cases regarding affirmative action that are now pending before the United States Supreme Court. So Attorney Patillo, if you could just give us a little background. There are two cases, one out of Texas and one out of North Carolina. They at one point were consolidated and presented to the United States Supreme Court, and then they were separated for oral argument. And so can you just tell us those two, what are the two cases about? And then we'll have a little discussion. Because I know most people don't realize the impact of the United States Supreme Court decisions on what happens in America once those decisions are made. We take very lightly the nomination and appointment of Supreme Court justices. And so now we've just had Roe versus Wade overturned about women's reproductive rights, a woman's right to make choices about healthcare. And now we are faced with affirmative action.
One of the things I think people have to understand is the Supreme Court, the judicial branch, is a co-equal branch to both the Congress and to the presidency. So the way that our government is separated is that the Congress is a check on the president is a check on the Congress, and the judiciary is a check on both of them. However, what we've seen happen over the course of the last 40 years, perhaps since the Reagan Revolution in the 1980s, is they moved to a more activist Supreme Court. This is very similar to what we saw in South Africa at the end of the apartheid regime, where because they knew they could no longer politically control the company, the minority group started entrenching themselves in the bureaucracy of the nation in order to still exert power from there.
Now you have a Supreme Court, and we need to let everyone know that there are 9 justices that serve on the United States Supreme Court. Currently, there are 2 African Americans. How many females? There's 3 females on the United States Supreme Court, 1 Latino.
There's Kagan, Sotomayor, Ketanji Brown Jackson, and Justice Barrett. So there's 4 females on the Supreme Court. 1 Jewish member, Elaine Kagan, 1 Latino member, Sotomayor, 1 African American female being Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, 1 African American male being Clarence Thomas, and the remainder being white men. When you talk about the 5-4 split, where are we now as you look at the composition of this court? Well, now we have a 6-3 court. So there's 6 conservative justices on the court, that being Alito, Thomas, Justice Roberts, and Justice Barrett, Justice Kavanaugh, and Neil Gorsuch. Then on the progressive side of the aisle, the more liberal justices, you have Ketanji Brown Jackson, Sonia Sotomayor, and Elaine Kagan. Because of that majority of 6-3 being on the court, even if, let's say, Justice Roberts dissents on the case, it will still go the conservative way, which effectively mutes the voices of the 3 minority justices. There are 2 cases that were just presented before the court this week on oral argument. One was the Texas affirmative action case. The other was the North Carolina. Let's talk about the differences in those cases. Well, the cases are very similar. I think that when this case is decided, they will consolidate the verdicts again. So taking the North Carolina case first, this is a students group ostensibly, which is a front for a billionaire donor that is suing University of North Carolina, also Harvard University, for racial discrimination. The claim in those cases is that Asian American students are being disadvantaged because of the affirmative action process, because they are unfairly grouped together with white students, and then parallel advantages are given to African American Latino students on a non-race neutral basis. So there's been a 30-year progeny, actually a 40-year progeny on this line of thinking, culminating in the early 2000s with the Michigan State University cases, where Justice O'Connor and Ginsburg, majority decision, said that race can be one of several factors that go into the complex set of the criteria needed to admit a student, that in some cases it can be a tiebreaker, but it's not an overall factor. So it's not that you're just giving away scholarships to people because they're Black. You're just riding down the street saying, hey, you want to go to Harvard? You want to go to Harvard? No, it's people who are equally qualified. And that if you have a group that is underrepresented on campus, you can take their racial background into consideration when it comes to those admission decisions.
And so one of the things that we've been looking at with these types of cases is where race is a factor, particularly where members of a particular race, African American or Latinos, are not only are they not represented on campus, but there's a pattern of discrimination against them being enrolled as students on those various campuses.
Think back to the cases in the mid-2000s that were brought before the Supreme Court. They would usually use white women as the plaintiffs in those cases, trying to claim that them as minorities were being discriminated against because of the color of their skin. Now they're using Asian Americans as that point, because they're saying because Asian American students are overrepresented in many Ivy League campuses, that they don't benefit from the same racial preference that African American, Latinos, and other more less prevalent groups on campus are. Now, this is almost a argument saying that, well, because the program is succeeding, let's get rid of the program, because Asian Americans weren't always admitted in those numbers. And
right.
Because of the affirmative action programs, they were admitted in those numbers, and then they were able to send their children, and now they've gotten to a critical mass where they don't need the assistance anymore. So the basic argument in this case is because the program is working so well, let's stop the program, which I think is what Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson pointed out when it comes to the arguments in this case.
One of the cases, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson has to recuse herself from participating in the decision. And so you want to talk a little bit about that, because most people don't understand when we elect people to the United States Senate, though, there's some awesome power that's in that US senator. And when you only have 100, 2 per state, it determines a lot of things in America. And one of them is who sits on the court. And these justices, however bright they may be, are part of a political ideology. So when you say conservative versus liberal, that's a fact, because they are selected based on the political ideology of the president, the sitting president. And in this case, the sitting president is Joe Biden. Prior to that, the last time we made some appointments to the Supreme Court, they were Supreme Court and federal courts, federal district courts. That was, the president was then Donald Trump.
Kind of reflecting on the point about the Senate, because we are so close to the election. This is why the Senate seats around the country are so crucial, because the next Supreme Court justice could either be held up, as Mitch McConnell did with Merrick Garland and the Obama administration, or they can get a vote and be put on the court as Ketanji Brown Jackson was. That depends on the composition of the Senate. If there was not a 50 vote tie and a tiebreaker with the vice president, as there is right now, Ketanji Brown Jackson would have never been confirmed to the United States Senate despite being completely qualified. It's just the nature of our political system now. So for people who say that voting doesn't matter, or what do we get for our vote, you get a justice like Ketanji Brown Jackson on the court, as opposed to someone like a Clarence Thomas or Samuel Alito or John Roberts. If you want to know what your vote means, that is what your vote means.
So how long before we'll get a decision from this United States Supreme Court on these affirmative action cases?
Well, we have the oral arguments now. Then there'll be a period of time where the judges will deliberate over it. There's months and months of legal research and writing that goes into the decision. So we should have a decision probably by early next summer, at the close of the June term, to determine the outcome of these cases.
Let's look at the outcome, the potential outcome. We don't know how the court will rule, but looking at the composition of the court, we can almost predict how they might rule. How does this affect affirmative action if the court rules in favor of the plaintiffs or the appellants?
Well, it's going to have a devastating effect on higher education in this country. We'll effectively outlaw on both the college admissions level and many other levels. The use of race as a +1 or a tie-breaking factor or a factor at all when it comes to admissions. So any types of race-conscious programs to integrate any institution, quite frankly, will be able to use this case as a precedent when it comes to arguing. So that includes employment cases, that includes athletics, country clubs. You know, we just got Augusta National integrated in the last 20 years. They'll be able to argue in court, well, if you're going to remove affirmative action in the university context,
you need to remove it across the board.
Why can't I have a segregated country club? Why can't I have a segregated hotel? Why can't I have a segregated restaurant? Because you're using the same line of reasoning that they're using here. And the court made it very clear with the Dobbs decision that the stare decisis, the idea that let the decision stand, precedents, the idea that previous cases rule over your decision making now have no place in this current court. And they are willing and able to take everything that was passed from the Civil Rights Act in 1964, voting rights in 1965, fair housing in 1968, and on down the line to overturn all those cases. So this is what makes the Senate even more crucial, because as we talked about with checks and balances earlier, the only thing that can overcome a Supreme Court decision is passing a law that's agreed upon by the House and the Senate and signed into law by the president. If the president has a majority and the Senate has a 60-vote majority, a filibuster-proof majority, then we can codify these rules in the law and overcome the packed Supreme Court.
I want to do this more and more because people need to know these legal cases that are impacting us and be prepared to respond accordingly. So today, what is the action? Go vote. Have your family vote. If you're a student, you need to vote on the campus where you are enrolled in college. If you're in high school and you'll be 18 by November 8th, you need to vote on election day. Everybody got to vote, vote, vote. Thank you.
We're excited to get more people involved in Rainbow Push, supporting the programs of Push for Excellence and the Citizenship Education Fund. If you're interested in impacting public policies, if you believe in the scholarships that we give to thousands of students each and every year, you can become a policymaker by becoming a member of Rainbow Push right now. For an annual membership of $35, or if you're a student or senior, $15, you can help us make a difference in the lives of millions. How do you become a member? Visit our website at rainbowpush.org and press join. Or maybe you'd like to support us. You can text the word PUSH, that's PUSH, to 41444 on your cell phone, and you can give any amount you feel comfortable giving. You can also call us at 773-256-2775, or go to rainbowpush.org and push donate. Wherever you are, you can support us as we keep pushing for you.
Want to explain something to you. I know you all watch us every week and you're wondering, what do y'all do over there? What is going on at PUSH? How can you get involved? Well, Bishop Grant is here. I want to share with you, we think we have 7 reasons why you should be supporting Rainbow Push Coalition, Push for Excellence, and Citizenship Education Fund, because the 3 entities together create major opportunities. We're trying to meet needs in public policy, and we're pushing economic development and educational excellence, and just so many different things that we're doing addressing poverty. So, Bishop, let's talk about what do we do that people should be concerned about?
Well, most specifically in real time, midterm elections are very important, and this is a consequential election in epic proportion. When you look at the fact that Reverend Jackson single-handedly has registered over 7 million voters. And the work of Rainbow Push is centered around voting rights, voting education, and voter mobilization. And that, requires that we are on the forefront and on the cutting edge of public policy and legislation. And so when you look at this particular election that has so much on the line, from women's reproductive health to labor rights, voting rights, the economy, education, and healthcare, Those are all templates that we work on each and every day somewhere, not just here in Chicago, but around the country.
Yeah. When you think about criminal justice, all of us know someone either in our family or friends or neighbors that have had a criminal case. And you're wondering, how do some people go to jail and others don't go? Well, let's look at the criminal justice laws that stand your ground laws in some states that allow this vigilante justice. Why do they have it some states and not others? Because state legislatures are passing laws. We have now the big deal about
the
guns.
Safety Act. Well, guns.
Well, yeah, guns, nationally.
Yeah.
We cannot get a ban on assault weapons nationally because states are fighting every day, saying they're fighting for the preservation of the Second Amendment. Well, do you want people to go and shoot up schools like they did in Uvalde, Texas? You know, we look at the police misconduct. Yes, we need police. We don't need to defund them. We need to change the laws that keep them from being punished for criminal behavior, just shooting somebody on the street. Or
well, the
somebody.
analytics, you know, Reverend Jackson has the, you know, notoriety of political analytics. And what people don't know, those of you who are viewing us, is that legislators and public policy writers turn to us for content. They turn to us for research and background. They turn to us for the sense of getting a pulse of where the community is. And, you know, the legislation then becomes real because they use the body of our work. You know, we just recently had a 14-state tour, 25, you know, different cities as a part of our voter engagement. When it comes to voting gun rights, Reverend Jackson has been, you know, the first out as a civil rights leader to say that there must be something done at the grassroots level to address gun violence. And it doesn't start with how the gun got on the street. It's where the gun is manufactured and sold. And so when you look at Parkland, you look at Texas, you look at violence in urban centers around the country, you know, many people from researchers to legislators turn to Reverend Jesse Jackson and the Rainbow Push Coalition for the content of how to enact these laws and these measures.
And as Bishop said, we've been going around the country, and the one thing that we have discovered is there needs to be a serial number on the weapons and on the bullets. So you can trace the purchase of bullets back to the purchaser and the purchase of a gun back to the person that purchased it. We need to stop selling assault weapons and weapons that you can manufacture over the internet. That has to stop. Those are federal laws, and so your U.S. senators, U.S. congresspeople need to be introducing legislation to ban assault weapons, to make sure that there is a registry of who purchased the gun, who purchased the bullet, and trace that purchaser all the way back. And then there's also some responsibility, as you said, for the manufacturers of these weapons, people that manufacture these weapons, and then they somehow get on the street through trains dropping them off.
Or straw purchasers.
Well, you got the straw purchasers, and we know that children are not eligible to purchase guns, but they have access to the guns from some adult bad behavior. And so we have to just be able to trace the line, the chain of custody of the weapon back to its original manufacturer and to the original purchaser.
Yeah, and when you talk about why should you financially support an institution like the Rainbow Push Coalition, you look at an issue like criminal justice reform, and our organization under Reverend Jackson's leadership has talked for years, fought for years, has organized for years to make sure that persons who are returning citizens, those who have served their sentences, and all of the judicial requirements that are associated with their conviction are restored, their rights are restored. And the first right is the right to vote. And it's here in Cook County, it's across the country, where persons who are pre-trial detention can vote. But then once you've done your time, your record should be expunged and you should be given a free opportunity to participate in this democracy. Some 18 million returning citizens are presently in communities all over America. Many of them, Reverend Wilson, have no idea that they're eligible to vote, such is the case in New York, and in Florida, where there's a disconnect between the Department of Corrections and the Board of Elections, letting them know that these individuals are not acting out an illegal attempt to try to thwart an election, but they're actually trying to exercise their constitutional right. And that's something that we fought for. So if you have a family member who's had any contact, interaction with criminal justice, let me tell you something. When people can't afford a lawyer, they turn to Rainbow Push.
And if you've had a relative, in some states, it's 26 states, that allow you, once you have been convicted, served your time, to when you leave jail, when you leave prison, you have an opportunity to be a returning citizen. That's why we call them returning citizen. When we say citizen, that means that person has the right to vote in some states, not all. It should be a constitutional right for people who served the time, paid their debt to society, to return as a citizen and exercise that right to vote. And that's what we're fighting for. Oh, we're fighting for high quality public education for every child. It shouldn't be based on income, that your child gets a quality education or a zip code, as it is now. Education is a state right, not a federal right. Every child should be guaranteed a federal right to public education. We fought for that. We filed lawsuits for that. And now you have a situation where children in affluent areas get a better quality education than poor children. Children with certain zip codes that are limited to black and brown children get less investment in the tools that will help them educate. We learned that in COVID. It was so much worse for poor children than children who are affluent, because they didn't have access to the Wi-Fi, they didn't have access to the computer equipment, they didn't have access to a lot of things that they need to be competitive, not just nationally, but globally. And so we're fighting for that. We make sure that we get scholarships to some students. We make sure we're teaching STEM so that every child knows science, technology, education, and math. We have a Saturday school because we know that other cultures make sure their children are culturally sensitive, they are academically ready, they have summer programs, and they have Saturday programs. That's what we do at Push Excel. We want to make sure that our children get college trips to visit colleges. Poor parents can't afford to take a child not to one college, let alone we take you to 7. So you can see what college, you can be what you can see. And we want to make sure our children see more than where they are. We want to lift their vision, lift their sights. And we fought for years for teachers to get certified when they could not be certified in some public school districts, black teachers I'm talking about. We may have to fight that fight again.
Well, you know, the important dynamic of labor and education, how the black middle class was sustained was black teachers, black firemen, black police officers, black construction workers, and it's akin to Dr. King's position on the dignity of labor. And when you understand that, while others are talking about making America great, Reverend Jackson has talked about rebuilding America and building a big tent where everybody fits in, and this America is this patch quilt where everybody has a place and plays a part. You have a significant role and responsibility in being a contributor to this social justice army called the Rainbow Push Coalition. Week after week after week, we bring programs, initiatives, content, events, and engagement to you. And if you're not a member, you can go to the bottom of that screen, www.rainbowpush.org, or you can hit us on any of those platforms. It's not just your membership. I want you to hear me. It's your contribution. And so you can make let me help you with something. A small contribution goes a long way with the big things that we do here at Rainbow Push, because it is so fundamentally important for you to know your partnership and your membership keep us on the front line. You know, there used to be a saying, don't make me call Jesse Jackson.
That's right.
Don't make me call Reverend Jackson. And it's still true today. When you dial 773-FREEDOM on that dial, we respond with resources and we respond with results. And that's what makes us different and much more relevant today than ever before.
And much more necessary than ever before. If you have a child in school at any level, you need to be a part of PUSH. You need to join PUSH. We have satellite offices around the nation that can help you, whether you're on the East Coast, you're West Coast, or you're in the South, you're in the Midwest. We want to serve you. We want to help you. We can't do it without you. We're not controlled by any corporate entity or any government institution. We are supported by you. And whatever donation you give us, we fight and do the best we can to fight for you. When you think about workers' rights, we've been helping and working with labor, those people that have caregivers in your home. We fought for caregivers to get affordable wages, livable wages, so that they could not only care for you and your loved one, but they could care for themselves. Many people worked in nursing homes and in this assisted living care. They don't make enough money for them to have a bed if they get sick. And we learned that in COVID. We fought with labor, making sure that these workers could get more. We fought with people working in these new facilities, these factories. They need to have a livable wage. People working in retail stores, we fought so that they could get
the right to organize.
A right to organize, a right to vote. You shouldn't be working someplace you get no benefits, no day off, no time off, no health care. That's not right. So we fighting for you. All we need you to do is support us.
Fighting for you is what we do. And as you listen so passionately to Reverend Jeanette Wilson and myself, listen, there's no better time than now for you to make that contribution and afford us the opportunity to continue to expand this work all over this country, whether it is in Atlanta, New York, or Silicon Valley. What you do helps us help others until we may have to help you. And that is so very clear in the moment we open these offices every day, somewhere around the country. The first thing people tell us is, I never knew that you did what you did until I needed you. And whether you're in corporate America, whether you're in labor, whether you're in education, healthcare, or a student on one of the colleges where we've given over $50 million in scholarships, your contribution means so very much. And why not? Reverend Jackson has just celebrated his 81st birthday. We're going into our anniversary season. What a great way to start today, right now, going to one of those sites, making a contribution and or becoming a member, and letting it be known that you're part of this army that is working to bring and save not just communities, but save our democracy.
Absolutely. And so you don't want to live your life and like many of you never marched with Dr. King, you weren't a freedom rider, you were not even here then. This is your opportunity to be a part of this movement for justice, for change. Fighting for you is what we do absolutely best. Join the movement now.
Help us keep hope alive.
We are sanctuary. We are a sanctuary.
When I think of Rainbow Push, I think of two words: social justice.
Education advocacy.
Political empowerment.
Freedom and equality.
Corporate partnership.
Stop the violence. Save the children.
Don't get in. Shut it down. If we don't get in, shut it down.
Political change.
Inclusion, evolution. Progress, justice.
Jesse Jackson.
Keep hope. Keep hope alive. Alive. Keep hope. Keep hope alive. Alive.
We want to be bridges to end these cultural gaps.
We're going forward. By hope. Not backwards. By fear.